Hey there, and welcome to the Hey Kahla Podcast. I'm your host, Kayla Evans, and in this episode, I thought I would do a little pre-gaming with you, if you will. So, if you're new to my world, other than coaching people on becoming like super confident human beings so that they can get out there and go after what they want most in life, I am also an in-game host for the Winnipeg Jets and our Manitoba Moose, and that's what I spend most of my winter doing. So I'm the one, I'm running around the games. I've got my microphone in hand on the Jumbotron. We're playing games with fans. We're making announcements, throwing t-shirts with a promo team, like that kind of thing. Like it's the most fun. It is awesome. I absolutely love it. And that's my winter jam. And to get ready for the games, I have a very specific set of things that I do, which I call my pregame routine. And since I've been hosting a ton of Jets and Moose games lately, and actually one of my most listened to and most downloaded episodes for this entire podcast is when I talked about morning routines. And I am going to link that one in the show notes if you missed it. I figured I would do my pregame routine, which I think will be really useful for anyone who's heading into a situation where you're going to be talking or presenting or doing something big, right? So maybe it's a big meeting at work. Maybe you're about to ask for a raise. Maybe you're pitching to a big client that you really want to land. Maybe you're going to be speaking on a panel somewhere, guest speaking at your kiddo's school or a university. Maybe you're moderating a panel, even if you're about to go live on Instagram, right? Something that's out of the ordinary, a little bit bigger and holds a lot of importance to you. I think this can be really useful for you. You can take bits and pieces of it. You can take the whole thing and just see what works for you. So take what you will. And if you're already a speaker, like you're already in that speaking arena, maybe you're just nosy like I am and you want to know what I'm up to. This is a routine that I think is pretty solid. It is a long one. I will say that. So again, just take bits and pieces of what you think will work for you. Give it a shot, see what works, keep what works and just like ditch what doesn't. But this routine is really big for me because it not only gets me in that right mindset and headset to go and do the thing that I have to do, especially for Jets games. Like that's over 15,000 live people watching you do your thing. Like that's big. So I need to be in the right head space and mindset to do that. But this routine also really boosts my confidence and gets that vibration nice and high. And that allows me to just relax when I'm out there, have fun, and just truly be in the moment. Because again, being live in front of thousands of people is a big deal. And even if you're thinking to yourself, like, well, I'm not going to host NHL games. I'm not going to be live in front of like thousands and thousands of people. If you're going live on Instagram and you're going to be live in front of people and then it gets posted to your feed and like 200 people watch that, can you imagine standing at the front of a room in front of 200 live people? Like that's a big deal, right? So you want to make sure that you make it as easy as possible on yourself and you set yourself up for success. So if you're interested in knowing this pre-game routine, stay tuned. And again, if you just want my normal morning routine, it's pretty much the same, I think, as when I recorded that episode. And again, I'm going to have that linked in the show notes. So let's get into this because again, it's a bit of a long one. So the first thing I do, obviously, I get up, right? I try to get up every morning without an alarm. That was one of the things, terms of success that I wanted when I started my own company a couple years ago. I wanted to wake up every day well rested without an alarm clock. And this goes back to the days where my schedule was super packed, being in live TV and radio, and I had to get up super early and I lived by my alarm, right? So one of the markers of success for myself was to get up without an alarm. But let me tell you, on game day, I definitely set an alarm just as a backup, just in case, because I love 9 to 10 hours of sleep. Like I almost always sleep for 10 hours every single night. Like I love it. I need it. That's how I feel like I do my best work. And I've got no shame about that. So I wake up, very restful 10 hours of sleep. So I guess that would be the first thing really in the morning routine, which goes back to the evening routine. Get yourself to bed early, get a good night's sleep before you're about to do something big and important, right? You want to be well rested and ready to do the thing. So I wake up, I do reach for my phone, A, to turn off my alarm, and B, I will flick on a morning affirmations track to listen to. I like Hay House, like Louise Hay, her publishing company, Hay House. They have an audio app with all their meditations and audiobooks and subliminal recordings and stuff like that. I think it's called Empower You Audio. So I subscribe to that. My mama actually bought my subscription for me as a gift, which I'm so grateful and thankful for. So this is not paid or sponsored. I wish. Hay House, I will definitely work with you. But I do subscribe to that app, and there is a free version that you can use with that app too. So I flick on a meditation. I play a recording. I really like Bob Baker on there. He does like a lot of gratitude morning affirmations. And then obviously the original Louise Hay. So I'll put that on right away. And then I go do the human things, right? Brush your teeth, brush your hair, get dressed. Then I take the dog for a walk since I'm going to be gone for a little while. And when I'm walking, I actually don't listen to anything. I just take in nature. I listen to my own thoughts. And this really helps get me centered for the day. So I spend time like quiet with nature. From there, I come home. I do make a big pot of coffee. And if you've worked with me before and you're thinking like, Google, why are you making coffee? You tell me I'm not allowed to drink coffee. I do teach people that maybe they should not drink coffee before they go into a big speech for a couple of reasons. Caffeine obviously may lead you to be even more jittery, and it can impact your nervous system, make you shaky and more anxious than you already are. And then the second thing is that people usually like add like a boat ton of cream and sugar to their coffee. And both of those things actually mess with your vocals. So you'll get kind of mucusy or phlegmy from the milk, and then the sugar will dry out your throat. So it's like a recipe for disaster. And then that caffeine and the acidity can also dry out your throat a little bit as well. So yes, if you've been my client before and you're like, oh, you liar, I do suggest, with Go Coffee if you can. But this is one of those situations where I'm not following my own advice because I've just been hosting games for like 3 seasons now. I'm super comfortable with it, but I will just drink it black, right? Like I leave out the milk, I leave out the sugar, I just drink the coffee black, and I don't have a ton of it. I say I make a pot, but my pot is like 4 cups. Like it's a mini coffee maker. So yes, I will have my coffee. I sit down. Again, I'm reaching for that Hey House app. I do a meditation that's a visualization meditation. So I close my eyes. I imagine myself going through the motions and the emotions, I guess. Like I'm getting out of my vehicle. I'm walking into the arena. I'm saying hi to the security dudes. I'm putting my stuff in my locker. I'm getting my jersey on, I envision everything. I envision it going well, the fans having a great time, the producer being really happy with the product we're putting out, the PA announcers and I having an amazing show. Like I envision everything from start to finish. Obviously our team's winning. And I run through it in my brain because there's a ton of studies that show, and athletes do this all the time, that your brain doesn't know the difference between what you just imagined and what you've actually done. So while I'm doing the visualization, I'm not just picturing it, but I feel what it's going to be like. Like try to actually physically put yourself in there. I imagine holding my microphone. I imagine that slight chill of the arena, like my excitement, like, the goosebumps you get when the crowd starts to get really loud, when the team comes out, when the starting lineup is announced. Like I envision all of that. And then, oh, I don't know if that picked that up, the dog. It's windy today and he's barking at like every wind gust out there. So I do my visualization, and then from there I do my tapping. So meditation and tapping are the 2 things I do every single morning without fail. I do not miss a day, even if I only do it for like a couple minutes, a 5-minute meditation and like a 2-minute tapping. That's what I do. I did create a tapping video. It's like an instant confidence boost. It lives on YouTube and my Insta if you're interested in checking that out. And I will be putting out more tapping videos to come. So if that's your thing, stay tuned. I got you. And then what do I do from there? Tapping. I usually tap on just being really confident. I tap on having a great game. I will tap on having a lot of fun and showing up as my true self. And it's really not unusual for me to be meditating and tapping, with my cup of coffee beside me, the dog on my lap, whatever works for you is whatever works for you. There's no hard and fast rules. Just, again, make it work for you. From there, the obvious, I go do some hair and makeup because, again, I'm going to be on the Jumbotron while I'm doing my hair and makeup. And while I'm doing that, I actually do my vocal warm-up. So mine is from my vocal coach, but if you want to just Google on YouTube, like vocal warm-ups, they do have them on there. And this is so important, especially if you need to project your voice, but also if you're going into a meeting where you're feeling a little bit nervous, you want power in your voice. You want to sound confident, and a powerful voice doesn't come from volume. It comes from the sound, right? The power from within you. So a lot of people, just like open their mouths and they'll yell to get that volume because they think that's going to carry your voice and that's where the power comes from, but it's really not. And you don't want to damage your vocal cords at all. And yes, I have always spoken for a living and I've always taken care of my throat and my voice. And a big part of that is warming up, but I think it can help like everyday folks too. And I do teach this to my clients. If you're going to be pitching to your clients, you want to sound really confident and solid. So do a vocal warm up. You can do some face ballet as well. Again, give it a Google. You look and sound freaking ridiculous. Like if anybody saw me doing these warm-ups, curling iron in my hair and like face ballet, they'd be, okay, you're nuts. But you know what? I say this all the time. I'd rather look nuts and do good work and have fun than look cool and hate every second of what I'm doing, right? So I do look like I've completely lost my marbles for a little bit, but I finish up my glam, my hair and my makeup. And then at that point I go and I pack my bag. And I do have on my website, it's called the Speaker Survival Kit. It's a free download. And it's basically just a checklist of things that I bring with me to different speaking events. That way, I'm well prepared for anything. I'm going to link that in the show notes too, if you want to get your hands on it and check it out. Again, it's free. And it'll just give you a good idea of it's kind of like a what's in my bag. And my hockey bag obviously looks a little bit different than if I'm going to give a keynote somewhere or if I'm going to MC a dinner or a gala, because there are skates in that bag. I do skate along with Timbits during the intermissions, but in the actual bag part itself, it's a lot of the same things. So just quickly running through my hockey/arena bag, I do have my earpiece, like my radio, so that my producer and then the promo team, we can talk to each other. It's really similar to the earpiece I used when I was on television. Then I have earplugs for my other ear. And I pretty much wear these puppies to every event, like concerts, live sporting events, that kind of thing. Because along with my throat and my voice, I definitely want to protect my hearing. We love a rowdy crowd, right? We're Manitobans, we're Winnipeggers, we love to get loud, but it can be a little hard on the hearing, especially when you're doing it so many times a week. So I love the loop. I think I have the sleep ones, and I do want to look into having a custom mold made for both my radio and my earplug. So maybe that will be to come, but for now I just use loop, and this isn't sponsored, but I have actually recommended them to quite a few people that I work with at the arena. I can still hear people when they're talking to me, but it dims out a lot of the crowd so that my ears aren't ringing. And then when my producer talks to me, I can hear them a lot more clearly. So I will link the ones I have, my favorite ones, in the show notes. Again, not sponsored, but I definitely recommend them. It's just a way to protect your hearing, right? And I got really big into this, I guess. Long story longer. I used to work at an alt-rock radio station with my first job, right? And we used to go to 3 or 4 concerts a night. If you're a Winnipegger and you remember Freak 107 on Osborne, that was my first gig. And I never wore earplugs back then, right? I was 16, 17. I was right beside the stage. I was right in the mosh pit. I'm surprised I had any hearing left whatsoever. So now I definitely take care of my ears, my hearing, and then my throat. The 2 things I need most, I take care of them. And then I also have a tiny makeup bag for touch-ups, and that's something that's in this speaker survival kit as well. I'm going to link that in the show notes. And you can add different things in there, right? Even if you're I want to say a guy or dude, and you're I'm not going to wear makeup. Powder is always your friend, right? If you're going to be under spotlights or, overhead lighting, powder is always your friend. So give that list a download. Just again, take what you want, leave what you don't. And then I always make sure I have lozenges. That's probably the biggest thing, because again, if you're going to be speaking, you want to keep your throat nice and hydrated. So I always have I think at this point it's bad. I have 5 or 6 different varieties. I like my options. And then I have my skates. I also have a pen and a highlighter because I do get a printed script copy from my producer, and I like highlighting things that trip me up. And I want to mention this because this is a tip that I always give out. If you're following a script, or even let's say you make a script or you make point form notes for yourself, highlight the main points that you absolutely 100% want to hit. Because if you get lost or confused, or your brain is just peace out, I'm gone, you can look down and really clearly see what's highlighted. And that's your reset point, right? So I always highlight the big points that I want to hit. And then I also highlight things that may trip me up. So I highlight player names and numbers or stats. And I've done that my entire career, and it makes such a difference. So when you look down, you're ready for it, right? You see those bright colors and you're okay, I'm ready for this. And then a couple other things I have in there as well. This is a tip I give to everybody as well. Gum. It can be a really good thing for a couple reasons. And I always suggest mint, spearmint, peppermint gum. It will kind of cool your stomach and calm your bubbling guts. So if you have, again, mint gum or peppermint tea, that works really well for slowing down the churn of your stomach. And then additionally, there are some studies out there that show that the action of chewing, it actually informs your body that you're eating. And biologically, when we were cave people, when we were eating, we were relaxed, right? We were safe. So that kind of calms your subconscious fear. You're not as freaked out because you're okay, I'm eating, I'm safe right now. We were never going to eat when we were in danger, right? So that's another good tip. And then bag is packed to get my butt out the door. And then on the way to the arena, I always listen to a super uplifting playlist. This is when I blast music, nicely for my my hearing, that's going to get me hyped up, right? So I will usually listen to Taylor Swift because I love her and I find her empowering, no shame, love her. But lately, like for the last like month and a bit, because of the When We Were Young music festival in Vegas, it's been like a steady stream of emo music for the last, again, like maybe month in my house. Like we've got Under Oath, Atreyu, Thursday, Taking Back Sunday, like MCR, like all of those, like my most favorite emo bands from my youth, like the bands I used to play on Freak 107. Like I have those cranked, respectfully cranked for my ears. And then I get really hyped up. So by the time I get to the arena, I'm ready. I put my stuff away. I review the script that my producer gives me. And that's really important as well. If you're going to be speaking anywhere, again, you made your own notes, go over your notes before you go on. This is your last moment to kind of catch anything that may be funny, highlight the points that you really want to hit, or the points that are going to guide you through your presentation or talk. Then get ready, change your shoes if you have to. I put on my sneakers, get into my jersey, and then go to the bathroom. So you can look in the mirror and make sure you look good. But also go to the bathroom because that's, just a tip from mama when we were kids, right? Anytime you leave to go on a big trip or go do something big, like let's go to the bathroom, go now. And then the last thing I do before I start addressing the crowd is I will do some deep breathing. So I love box breathing. It never fails. I just imagine a box in my head and I breathe in for 4 counts. I hold the breath at the top for 4 counts, exhale for 4 counts. And then when your lungs are empty, you hold the breath at the bottom for 4 counts. And then you just repeat it. And I'll do that for a couple minutes. This slows your heart rate. It lowers your blood pressure, calms you down, and it really like grounds you in the moment. And then the last thing I will do, because oh my gosh, I feel like I've been jabbing my jaws forever. The last thing I will do before I go live is I ground myself. So what this means is I stand with my feet hip width apart and I distribute the weight evenly between my feet. So if you're like a yoga practitioner, like all 4 corners of my feet. And this does a couple of things. First of all, it makes you really steady for your camera person, which is nice, right? You're not rocking back and forth. You're not leaning from one hip to the other. Like they've got you centered up in their frame. Don't move. It's really good for your posture and your lower back if you're going to be standing for a long period of time. But physically and like mentally and spiritually and emotionally, it grounds you in the moment. So I'm not leaning forward on my toes being anxious. I'm not, leaning back on my heels being scared. I am in the center. I am grounded. So I can feel the ground in all 4 corners of each foot. I'm ready to go. And from there, I just get the countdown from my producer and then boom, we're off. And I think that's it. I'm pretty sure I wanted to record this episode after this weekend so that I could really make sure I didn't miss anything after the Jets game this weekend. So I do this again, every Jets game, every Moose game. It's exactly what I'm going to be doing for the rest of the season. I've pretty much done it for 3 seasons now. And while, again, like I am really comfortable doing these games, the season did just start a little while ago. And it does take a bit, right, to get back into the groove of being in front of that many live people. So I'm definitely paying really close attention to my routine right now. Because while the nerves won't be getting to me, the excitement might, right? Like I'm pumped, especially with as good of a season as the Jets are having right now. Like I'm so excited for these games. And excitement is actually the same physical sensation in your body as fear. So I make sure I manage it the same way. So if you've been listening to me this whole time and you're like, yeah, I'm not afraid of anything. Good. I'm glad you're not. But if you're just as excited about something, you have to manage it in a similar way, right? You don't want your excited nerves or your fear nerves to get the better of you. Like as goofy as that sounds, like you want to kind of manage both. So if you're going to be talking anywhere, again, big meeting coming up at work, you can use any of these tips to center yourself, get yourself prepared, get ready, take what works for you, leave what doesn't. That's like my biggest advice for anyone. You need to find what feels good to you and what works best for you in your own situation. I always say it's not one size fits all when it comes to confidence building, or public speaking. So take what you like from my routine, work in your own things that you already love, and don't feel like you have to do 100 things either. Like don't listen to this at all and think, oh my gosh, I have to do absolutely everything she does. No, this is something that I've crafted. I've been in the spotlight for 20 years now. So this is something that I've like distilled and figured out what works for me. So you don't have to do everything I do. Please don't put that pressure on yourself. That's the last thing I would ever want is for somebody to listen to me and feel more pressure. And if you have something to add, or if you have something that really works for you, please let me know. You can send me a DM on Instagram. I'm there at Hey Kahla, or you can send me an email. I'm info@heykahla.com. And again, if you want to get my list of the speaker survival kit, I'm going to link it in the show notes. If you want to listen to my regular morning routine when I'm not running off to the arena, I'm going to link that in the show notes as well. And I feel like, what did I say? I was going to link something else. Oh, my Loop earplugs that I wear. Again, nothing is sponsored, but I will link all of that, all the goodies in the show notes for you. So with that, this is long enough. I'm going to go. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. If you're going to be at the arena this season, Moose games, Jets games, come on by, say hi. And as always, I hope you have the best week.